Good evening. I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC. On previous editions of Dateline, we've caught predators, identity thieves, car thieves, iPod thieves, and child snatchers. But today we have turned our sights on predators of a different sort. Poets. For centuries, poets have tried to capture the hearts and souls of people everywhere, and we at Dateline agreed that it was time to end the reign of these forceful heart and soul snatchers. For our investigation, we set up a sting operation in a home just outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin. We sought the help of internet watchdog organization Poetic Justice, which has been working to catch evil poets since 2003. Rob Robertson is the organization's founder and president.
I founded Poetic Justice to bring poets to justice, because they truly do want to ruin the world. What we do is go into chat rooms pretending to be living and breathing humans, and when a poet contacts us, we set up a meeting at a house just like this one for police sting operations.
While in a chat room for this investigation, Rob pretended to be a human named Bob Robertson, and he was quickly contacted by a poet with the screen name Arnold Undead 24. Or as he is more well known, Matthew Arnold. Rob proceeded to set up a meeting with Arnold at our sting location.
Come on in, I will be right there. I just need to get ready for some poetry.
Okay.
You can have some lemonade I made. It's right on the counter there. Did you bring your poems?
Yeah, I brought some poems. I think you'd enjoy them. Why don't you have a seat there? Okay. How about you tell me what your name is?
Matthew Arnold.
Alright, Matthew, why don't you tell me what you were planning to do here today?
I simply came here to share some poetry with a living, breathing human. I met in a chat room online.
When were you born, Matthew?
Well, I was born on December 24th, 1822 in Thames, England. Of course, you probably know my father, Thomas Arnold, who was a famous headmaster of Rugby School, which I attended for a short while.
Born in 1822, 188 years ago? Don't you think you're a little old to be wandering the streets, snatching the hearts and souls of living, breathing people?
I prefer the term capture. I hope to capture the hearts and souls of humans everywhere with my poems.
I'm not so sure that's any better. Your father, Thomas Arnold, would you say your life was shaped by him in any way?
Why, yes, my life was profoundly shaped by my father's influence. You see, he was a reformer in the British school system, which I suppose shaped me into becoming a critical, reform-minded individual when I made the transition from poetry to prose writing.
I have to say I'm more concerned with your poetry, so let's discuss that, shall we? In your chat online, you told our decoy that you taught Greek for a brief period of time. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Would it be fair to assume, then, that your poetry was influenced by certain aspects of Greek culture?
Well, I suppose you could say that. Many of my poems were dominated by thought. One of my poems, So Heb in Rostrum, is loosely similar to the Greek classic, I'm sure you've heard of this, the Iliad.
The idea of thought in poetry wasn't the only idea you took from the Greeks, though, was it?
No, that was pretty much it.
Don't lie to me, Matthew. I've got the transcripts from your chat right here. Our decoy asked you, so, what do you think about religion? You said, oh, I have many thoughts about that, LOL. Like what? From there, you go on to explain your thoughts on religion. So, the idea of thought in poetry wasn't the only idea you took from the Greeks, was it?
Now that you mention it, I may have formulated part of my religious beliefs based on Greek beliefs.
Now we're getting somewhere. Would you care to explain?
You see, well, in my time, Englishmen were too preoccupied with the idea of morality or right conduct. Now, don't get me wrong, I think morality is important. It probably makes up 3/4 of our spiritual lives. But we English were forgetting a very, very important part of religion.
And what might that be?
This is where the Greek influence comes into play yet again. What we were forgetting was the Hellenic or Greek ideal of a perfectly rounded nature. You see, the essence of Hellenism is sweetness and light, meaning a love of material and spiritual beauty, and unbiased intelligence. I believe that these forces are an important part of a beautiful, dignified expression of religion.
Maybe I'm not seeing something here, but if people are religious, does it really matter what they believe in?
Perhaps we got ahead of ourselves here. I believe the way to end the various evils of English society was with culture, which I define as a knowledge of the best that has been thought and done in the world, and a desire to make those best ideas prevail. Now, the biggest obstacle to culture, in my mind, was religious narrowness, and that is why I thought the English were too preoccupied with morality. I felt that through embracing both morality and Hellenism, English religious narrowness would decrease, thus enabling culture to grow in England.
So through a greater religious perspective, you hope to make the best ideas of the world prevail in what you call culture.
Yes, and I wrote about culture primarily in my essays during the portion of my career when I worked primarily with prose.
Surely you wrote about religion in your poems as well, though.
Certainly. Though I believe religion to be very important, I have struggled spiritually for a long time. You see, I believe that modern knowledge has disproved previous beliefs about Christianity, and I feel that a new spiritual revolution is necessary.
What about modern knowledge and science?
No. Those do not stimulate the emotions necessary for spiritual life. What we have now is an unintelligent age, devoid of results. May I share some of my feelings toward modern life from one of my poems?
If you think it will help.
This is a stanza from my poem, The Scarlet Gypsy. O born in days when wits were fresh and clear, and life ran gaily as the sparkling fames, before this strange disease of modern life, with its sick hurry, its divided aims, its heads o'ertaxed, its palsied hearts was rife. Fly hence, our contact fear. Still fly, plunge deeper in the bowering wood, averse, as Dido did with gestures stern, from her false friend's approach in Hades' turn. Wave us away and keep thy solitude.
Would you care to explain?
Yes. In this stanza, I am describing an individual who was born in a pre-modern society, but as he ages and society modernizes, the disease that is modern life overtakes him, creating fear as the individual eventually plunges into evil.
So what you believe is needed is a rebirth of religion of the past, but one that cannot be disproved by modern knowledge.
Correct.
Fascinating.
Indeed, but such a rebirth takes effort. We cannot merely stand by the religion of the past, which I wrote about as well in my poem, New Rome. I will share a couple of stanzas if you don't mind. The armless Vatican Cupid hangs down his beautiful head, for the priests have got him in prison, and the Psyche long has been dead. And then it concludes, the armless Vatican Cupid hangs down his head as before. Through centuries past it has hung so, and will through centuries more.
So you start off by saying that religion, with a specific example of Catholicism, is dead, and end with saying that it will continue to be dead because its followers simply accept it without thought.
Now you're catching on, sir. A spiritual rebirth is necessary, and that's what I tried to capture in my poetry. As I wrote in my stanzas from the Grande Chartreuse, we are wandering between two worlds, one dead, the other powerless to be born.
Powerless to be born, well put, I'll give you credit for that one. Religion in its relation to society certainly was your main muse, as the Greeks would say. Your second muse, might say.
That's almost funny then. But, may I say, while religion certainly was a source of inspiration in my poems, I also tried to be rationalistic in some cases, so that my poetry truly could be a criticism of life, and at the same time express a philosophy.
What philosophy?
That true happiness comes from within, and that people need to look inside themselves for good.
So insightful.
Well, thank you, sir. Say, you haven't told me your name yet.